What up, world, and welcome to another episode of the South African Spies podcast. Today, we'll be doing another episode in the Bramdo Bite segment, which you would notice is a little bit late because we thought it would be better to do this as a Mother's Day special to just celebrate our moms who are quite far away from us on this very special day. So instead, we will just be talking about them. So joining me to do that is Mickey. Hi, Mickey.
Hello, and I'm very excited to do this because, as you know, and a lot of people know, that I am 100% a mommy's boy.
Yes, we do know that for sure.
I'm very proud of it, and I'll continue to be a mommy's boy forever.
Well, that's a good thing. I'm not a...
No,
well,
you're like your mother. You're not a mommy's girl.
although everybody does tell me that I'm the favorite child.
Yeah, you're also like twinsies.
So before we start, let's just say Happy Mother's Day to everybody celebrating. We hope you're getting spoiled. We hope you're having a beautiful day with your loved ones. And, you know, that days like this and the love that you get really shows gratitude and appreciation for all you do as a mother. And this is also, for me, very relevant to aunties and grannies and anybody really just in a motherly figure role. Wish you all have a beautiful day.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day to all. And to just carry on from that point and get into the conversation before we get to our actual mothers, or it's kind of our actual mothers, but what did you do to celebrate Mother's Day, like growing up? Like, how did you celebrate with your mom?
I always made cards.
At school?
At home, at school, wherever I could. I loved making cards for occasions, but like Mother's Day was the favorite cards that I would make. So I always made cards, and then I think we'd, try and do the whole breakfast in bed, like the very cliche, try and make breakfast or try and make something. And then it would be buying a teddy bear or like a mug or something like that.
What was on these cards? Was it like very flowery and hearty?
I think I did hearts because I was never a flower person. So I think for me it was always hearts, but like big bold letters and like colored in and stuff.
Okay.
And you?
For me, it was always the teddy bears. From a young age, I remember there were always teddy bears in our house. So I remember for Mother's Day, it would always be one of those like hamper things that you buy from the sweet shops and stuff with the teddy bear in the middle and all the Ferrero chocolates and stuff. My mom loved Ferrero, so it was always a thing surrounded by chocolates and in heart shapes and a little bit of flowers and stuff. And that was usually the way we went.
Yeah, I also remember chocolates being a big thing for Mother's Day and Valentine's Day.
Ferrero Rocher.
I don't know if it was that for us because my mother didn't like those chocolates. She had really like weird taste. She liked plain stuff.
Oh, okay. Lindt?
I think it was even like other chocolates, like slabs. Like she preferred slabs of chocolates.
Okay.
So that's usually what we got.
Nice.
How times have changed with celebrations. How did that like evolve with you growing up?
I think unfortunately for most of us, as you get older, the things you give your parents and it just becomes less and less, and in terms of like the material stuff. But for me, it meant more and more spending time with my mother because that's what she really liked, is spending time with her. So having dinners with her, coming over and cooking when I started to cook and that kind of stuff. So for her, it was more important to have everyone together and spending time with her, which makes like now really difficult that we're not there.
Yeah. Yeah, your mom does she likes that. That's her gift. Her perfect gift is like to actually just be there and spend time.
Yeah, she wouldn't care if we were sitting in bed right now watching MasterChef, that would be perfect Mother's Day for her.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that.
And you? Did you change up from the card making or you still make the cards?
I don't make the cards anymore. But I think we kind of like got to a point where it was like, okay, we bought different gifts. So gifts would change and we would try to like get my mom clothes and like a pretty top. And I don't know, for some reason it was pajamas. It was quite often pajamas for Mother's Day. And then when it came to like actually doing something on Mother's Day, my mother is not really big on like going out for lunches and dinners and stuff like that. Her love language is more, okay, I'll cook something for you.
Yeah.
Even if it's on that day. So we kind of ended up, doing that a lot or whatever. But then my sister would make meals and make lunches and stuff at home, and then we'd be able to have that.
Speaking of your sister, because you were quite young when she became a mother, did you also celebrate her as for Mother's Day?
Yes, and I still very much do.
Yeah.
She is another mother.
Yeah.
So I've always, and with her, it was also celebrating, the same way. So I don't think I really celebrated her as a mother when I was younger. I think that became a thing that I did when I was much older.
Okay.
But I do celebrate her as another mother, and not only because she is one, but more because she's the mother figure to me.
Yeah. So it's twice.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I mean, even with her, it's like trying to, get her something pretty or add to her jewelry collection or, something like that. But she also likes spending time.
Yeah, I think if we could have our ideal gift for your sister, would probably to like lock her in a room and say, just do nothing for one day.
Also to sleep.
Yeah, for one day, just do nothing.
For one day, just sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Or stick Panda, Bagel, and all the other doggies in the room with her and say,
yeah, Bruno and Bella.
Bruno, Bella.
Because Tequila is
noisy.
Gray, that is very noisy.
But the 4 doggies can go in the room with her and all of y'all sit in the sun and sleep.
Yeah, just all sit on top of her and sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would definitely be an ideal gift, one that she will reluctantly take though, because that is always the struggle. But yeah, I mean, I've definitely always celebrated her, and like the same way that the boys always wish me. So my nephews always wish me, because how I see her as like a second mom, they see me in that light.
Okay, so even without being a mom yourself, they just still look at you that way.
Yeah, because I've been so involved and I've been there since they were very young.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it's very cute actually. I remember also when my nephews were much younger, I would also, get mugs and I'd get small gifts and they'd like buy me earrings or something cute and like flowers and chocolates and stuff.
Yeah, so sweet.
Very sweet. Almost.
Yeah, and now look at them.
Now look at them, big brothers. Yeah, like talking about our moms though, and talking about food and cooking and stuff, what do you have as like your mom's meal that stands out that's like hers, that if anybody had to make this for you, it needed to be her?
I don't think anyone even knows how to make it because it's such a unique thing to how she does it. And I don't know where the recipe comes from because my granny doesn't make it and like no one in our family. So my mom makes a casserole type dish, which is a layered dish of mince, mashed potatoes, spaghetti, and cheese. So it's kind of like a cottage pie, but with an Italian twist on top of it, literally on top. And that has always been my mother's dish in my head. That is hers. No one else does it. I have now changed it and adapted it to my style of cooking, but it's still her dish. So yeah, that's 100% hers. And I think everyone that's been around enough to visit often will eventually try that dish. And I haven't met someone who doesn't like it.
Okay, so that's like her signature.
That's her signature. I know your mom cooks a lot, so there must be lots of stuff to...
I think she does cook a lot, or she always did. But there was one thing that I think I've always only asked her for, because again, she's also the same story. Like the only person who I know that's ever made this dish, or I don't know how she even thought of it, but she actually cooks chicken and potatoes in sour milk. Now, if you know me, I love sour milk.
Yes.
Like sour milk and I are good friends, especially when it's piani. But because of that, she made this thing where she would take like chicken pieces and then she would slice the potatoes really thick, marinate everything like with the sour milk, but not like a biryani marinade, like a different kind of marinade. So it doesn't taste like biryani or anything. And then she would put it in the pot and cook it in sour milk instead of like...
So like how we cook our chicken in yogurt now, she would do it in sour milk.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Very similar to that. And then it would always have like this very sour milk cooked out like gravy with it.
Yeah.
It was delicious. It's like the best thing ever. And I don't know where it came from, but I think that would probably be the one thing that stuck out. And I'm pretty sure she started making that because I love sour milk.
Okay, nice. So then that's really your dish.
Yeah.
Well, her dish for you.
Yeah, it's exactly that.
That's really nice.
So that was my mother like being innovative with her food and stuff. Was there anything though that sticks out to you from like your early memories of your mother? Because I know we spoke in previous episodes about how strict she was with like schooling and stuff, but like what are the cool things that like stick out to you?
So this is a funny one because I know you and my mother have already discussed this and said I mentioned it way too many times on the podcast, and it's over the gaming stuff. But my earliest memories like of doing stuff with my mom is actually playing like Sega games. My mother was brilliant at a game called Teddy Boy, and like everyone, my uncle and like no one, cousins and stuff, no one was better at that game than her. So that's what I remember, like a cool thing doing with my mom, like from a very young age, is playing Sega.
So that's where you get the gaming from.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if it's exactly where I get the gaming from, but that's where the influence started. I mean, she was definitely the match that lit the fire.
And would she play games with you now if she had the chance?
I would like, if she could bring the Sega and come over here to visit us, we'd probably sit a couple nights and play Sega.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I actually looked when we got here because I think here they sell a knockoff of, not a knockoff, but like a emulated version of the Sega, and you can plug it into the modern TVs and stuff. So I was actually looking at maybe getting that for when she comes to visit next.
I'm sure she'd love
And then we can all play together.
I'm sure she'd love it. But then, like, I mean, you'd have to teach me this again. And as you can see, it's really hard to teach me to game.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll leave that to her to teach you then. And then there was also like an Olympic game, which was more multiplayer. So we all like competed against each other. And when the sprinting, she was the only one. She had like this weird technique to do it. And then she would beat everyone.
Is she competitive?
Yes.
She does like games, though, in general.
She loves games. Like when we go to visit, it's board games, card games, lots of card games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was me spending time with my mom doing something cool. What was the cool things you did?
With my mom, it's very hard for me to like remember those times. What I do remember is when I was young, is that we always were entertaining. So my mom was an entertainer. And I think I picked a lot of that up from her. So entertaining and, you know, having people over and getting into like loving to dance and loving music, because it was always music on. Whether it was we were listening to like Lotus FM and we were listening to like countdowns, or, you know, she would change it up and on a Sunday or whatever, just like put something on. I always remember there being music around because she loved music, and I think I picked a lot of that up from her. And I think the time that she spent getting me into like modeling was probably something I remember, because I think she was very proud and very into it and really wanted me to be successful in it. So yeah, there's a lot of like those times.
Okay. And then your mom was working full time as you were growing up. So how was that? Because obviously during the day then she's not with you.
Yeah, she worked all the time. It was okay because, I mean, it was school, and then I was very much a routine. Like when I was younger, my sister was at home, and then when she left to go and study, I was old enough to get home, do my homework. I was really disciplined in that sense. I'd get home, do my homework, feed myself, like do all of that. And then, you know, obviously we all got into trouble for not taking the chicken out of the freezer, not putting the rice on the stove, not doing all these things. But that was pretty much the normal thing. I was okay. I was a very independent child.
But I think that's thanks to your mother, because she probably made you get into that role of being independent at a very young age.
Yeah, very much so. And I think it's because she was so independent as well. So it was also easy for me to look at her and be like, okay, you know, you can do this, I can do this type of thing.
Okay. I think for me, it was a bit different. Like my mom gave me the chance to be independent, but I was always the type that if my mother can do stuff for me, I'm going to take advantage and let my mother do stuff for me. So
Still like that now.
I'm still like that now. I mean, even though I cook myself, if my mother can dish my food, I'd let her dish my food. It's
And
just,
she loves to do it also.
yeah. So if we had to go back to South Africa now and walk into the house, I'll say, Mommy, dish for me, please.
So I kind of had the same thing like that with my mother. Growing up, even though like I'm a girl, she never made me do stuff. Like my job in the house was to dust the furniture. That was
Okay.
my thing.
It was never these high expectations of you have to do everything now.
Yeah, like you have to do dishes every day, you have to cook, or you have to, clean bathrooms, or you have to mop, or you have to do all of that. She really, and I think it's because we're very similar in the sense that she is a perfectionist. So she'd rather let me do it myself so that I know it's done properly instead of asking you to do it and then I have to go redo it anyway.
So I was going to ask you, because I know your mother is a bit of a clean freak and a neat freak. So how did that affect things when you guys were kids, especially like you being a toddler now, or not toddler, but like very young with typically messy children, even you, I'm sure.
I don't know if I was.
But I mean, you would play and stuff. You wouldn't have toys and stuff lying around.
Yeah, but she was like very quick to pick up, put away, pick up, put
So
away.
she just did it herself.
Yeah.
Because I know she doesn't like things being out of place.
No, not at all. And she also likes to rearrange things like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
That's like a signature move. Like you walk into the house one day and everything is just rearranged. You're like, but why? I just felt like it.
Yeah.
Just needed a change.
That's another thing your twins on.
Okay, fine. But I'm not so bad yet, okay?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Sound more convincing. Yeah, but like growing up, that wasn't a problem because obviously I was like that. Not to the extent that she was, but I had my own kind of order.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was organized chaos, but it was neater than like most teenagers, I would say.
Okay. So you never got into fights over that.
Sometimes we did. Like I went through a phase where I just didn't want to dress my bed when I woke up. And we know that that phase has ended because now I can't like start my day until the bed is dressed. But I did go through that phase where just like didn't want to dress the bed, and then she would complain. She's like, just do it. And I'm like, yeah, just now. And we did have that phase, but it didn't last that long. And they're like, oh, neaten your cupboard and all of them. Like, but it's in the cupboard. Why is that an issue? But now that I'm older, I think I'm very much like her in those.
No, we know you're very much like your mother. There's no question as to how much like you are. So
Okay, fine then. Yeah, we didn't really have any of those issues. But then also because of that, because she did everything herself, I specifically didn't get to do things while I was at home. So I used to like to iron, and sometimes I used to like get to iron and stuff. But it's only when I actually left home that I actually like do laundry, do my own ironing, wash and cook and, all of that. But then whenever I went back home, again, my mother wouldn't let me do anything.
yeah, because your mother likes to do things for everyone.
Yeah, but then it was that, and it was also like, okay, I'm going to spoil you, so I'll cook what you want. And my sister always tells her, yeah, you're only cooking this now because, Alicia wants it. Don't worry about me. I'm not...
Don't worry, when we go visit South Africa, my sister's going to say the same thing, that my mother only cooks those things when I'm there.
Yeah, so what I would like to know is, did your mother ever use any of those typical lines on you? Like, what you're crying for, I'll give you something to cry about. Or one day when I'm dead, then you'll know.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure those over dramatic lines came out at some point. I think less for me than it was for my sisters. So I think the very fortunate thing for me is as I got older, the relationship with my mother changed from, when we're all younger, we tend to fight with our parents a lot more. And me being a bit of on the older sibling side, I think I grew into the role of like, not partner, but like my mother's number two. So I kind of understood where she was coming from more. I was not helping with the discipline, but just not obstructing her disciplining my sisters and kind of being there whenever she needs me and stuff like that. It really changed much later, again, when I was 18 and stuff. And I think that's the point when my mother and I stopped fighting about the little things. yeah, we'd still have fights about the big things, like when I did my whole 3 years in first year thing. But it was never about stupid little things because we got over that very nicely, I think.
Well, that's good. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, the sooner you get to the point, I think the more you get to enjoy that relationship.
Yeah, I think it's very fortunate because I don't see it happen a lot with people as they get older. Some people just then, oh, I can't deal with this person, and then they live these separate lives. But I think our life is very entwined with my mother. Like, she will always be a big part of our life, and I think it's because that relationship is good.
See, for me, it's a bit opposite to that because, so as for those sayings and those common overly dramatic terms, we heard it all the time. I think we still hear some of it now. Like now when when you ask for something, like, before I close my eyes, just get married. Before I close my eyes, just have a baby. And then like as soon as you got married, okay, now I can rest peacefully. It's like, just calm down. Like, it's okay. So we heard a lot of that, and I think we still do hear a lot of that. But when it comes to our relationship, my mother and I clash a lot because we are so similar.
Yeah, I was going to say it's because you're exactly the same.
Yeah. So it's very easy for us to clash.
Definitely. Yeah. I can see because your personality is also like, it's not complementary to being in the same room with the same person.
Yeah. And we also so strong-headed. We both are so strong-headed. So she'll say something and she'll think it's right, and I'll say something and I'll think it's right. And like we both will just stick to our guns.
Yeah, that's when Pan and I just decide to go get water.
Yeah. And like, I mean, COVID time, we had huge fights because she insisted she was like going somewhere, and I was like, oh my gosh, can you just sit at home? Like, that was one of the big.
Yeah, I remember. Then she'd be like, yeah, but I know I'm not touching anyone and I'm staying my distance. And
I think that was actually so bad because we were screaming at each other on the phone, and your mother heard it. She's like, okay, I'm just going to go take a walk somewhere else. And then you heard and you're like, yeah, I'm coming with you. And everybody just like stayed away and didn't want to say anything because it was one of those.
Yep. Just leave them, let them sort it out.
But also the thing about that is that we clash a lot, but it's on things that matter. It's not really the small things, because my mother holds on to more of the small things, whereas I don't really. I can let go of those things and just like give in to her. It's the big things I'll stand ground on.
Yeah, I get that, because it's the same with my mom. Is not an academic person. Like, she's a very smart woman, but she's not academic. She gave me and my siblings the tools to become the academic people we are. So sometimes when she thinks she's right on something and I know better, it's just easier for me to be like, let it go. It's not important. We'll sort it out later. I'll tell her the real way things work later, but it's not important. Though I get her worked up for it.
Yeah.
Especially like, I've learned to do it in a way where I can tell her things in private and not in front of other people.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make her feel inferior.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's also like, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Because my mom is still smart in a lot of other ways. Like,
she has some of the smarts that we will never have.
Exactly. And I think most of our big life decisions, she's one of the first people we phone because we need advice from her.
Yeah, and that opinion and that perspective.
Yeah, it's just on a maths problem. I'm not going to ask her.
Yeah. That makes sense. Like my mother too, I'm really cognizant of the experiences that she's had, and like to take that into consideration also when like big things are happening. But I also see the difference like with our moms is that your mom is a little bit more up to date with things and has evolved with life now and how modern things have gotten. But it's also because that's how she had to evolve from the time she moved and she had to raise you all in that environment. Whereas my mom is a little bit more traditional with a lot of stuff and hasn't yet gotten to that point. So she can give me, and like even us when we do things and stuff, like all that advice on like, okay, but this is why and this is the right way or this is how and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas your mom will be a little bit more cognizant of, okay, but nowadays maybe that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, my mom's more accepting of certain of the technological advances that help your day to day. And I think your mom still believes in the old school way of doing things sometimes.
Not even just that,
not-
but I mean, I look at even just like norms and stuff. Like your mother was more open to you being in like relationships and that kind of thing.
After a point,
Yeah, obviously after a point.
yeah. But my mother expected me to be very late on life before starting relationships. I wasn't allowed to have a relationship before university. Even then, it was like, should be studying.
Okay, well then maybe my mother was more advanced with that.
With that, I think with the relationships.
My mother's advice to me was actually like she didn't want me to get married until I lived with someone.
Yeah, I think my mom was also like that. But then she also wasn't expecting, I don't think she wanted me to push on a relationship when the focus should be studying. I think if it happened, it happened. But she's like, don't go chasing it because you need to focus on studying. And then when I failed my first year, she's like, you see what I told you? Don't go chasing.
I think now our relationships with our mothers is, so we definitely do speak to your mom more than mine. My mother's always busy. She's sometimes a bit hard to get a hold of, but like she'll phone, she'll check in, and you know, like we need to call her for anything like that's urgent and stuff. She's there. But your mom like phones very often. Like sometimes you just phone for nothing.
Yeah, I know, because you'll speak to her when I'm at work and then I'll be like, oh, you spoke to my mother 5 times this week. I spoke to her once.
Yeah, that's pretty much how the week goes.
Yeah, but I think the difference with personalities between our parents or our moms is that your mom wants to show everyone or show you guys that she's okay. You don't have to worry about her. So she keeps busy with a lot of stuff. And it's not that my mom is showing that she's not okay, but my mom likes to be involved in every decision and even if it's not telling us what to do, but just knowing.
Yeah. I think that's definitely it. Like my mother doesn't want us to be in a position to like worry about things. But then I also see that we kind of don't give my sister a choice because she's also very much involved in everything.
Oh, your sister has no choice but to be involved in our lives.
Yeah, she's very much involved. And she also wants to be. And in the same way that she's involved with us, I am more involved with my nephews.
Yeah. And we both prefer it that way, that we're involved as much as we can be.
Especially with the distance, because it is hard. Like, it's the only thing you have is to make those phone calls and to speak as much as possible and share things.
Yeah.
That's really all you have.
Yeah.
Not like you can go and spend time and go to movies or cook lunch or cook dinner or whatever.
Yeah. But I can also see it from your mom's point of view because she doesn't want us to sit here and worry about what's her life like, where she can show us, I'm okay, don't worry about me, go live your life.
Yeah. And she also gets very concerned that, like, you know, she'll make sure that she phones at the right time because she's always so worried that she's disturbing us.
Yeah, because, you know, Panda's nap is very important.
Panda's nap is when there's sun out, it is very important, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of how it is. I think the other thing, though, to talk about when we're talking about our mothers is the relationships that we have with them as mother-in-laws.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, since I met your mother, I've literally basically become another daughter. And sometimes I think if people had to look at the three of us and the way the three of us are together, they would think that I'm the daughter and you are the son-in-law.
Yeah, definitely. That's 100% how it would be, especially like if people saw us here outside of South Africa as just strangers, it would definitely come across that you're the daughter.
Well, even at home, I mean, people have made that mistake.
True, very true.
A lot of times.
Yeah. When I think about my relationship with your mother, it's very much a very comfortable relationship where we don't need to talk to each other all the time. We're not going to seem as we're so close in public, but we are so comfortable with each other. It's just like how
It's pretty much like how your relationship is with your mother. Because you don't actually talk all the time.
No, we don't. I mean, if she phones, we'll talk, but it's not like you and my mother.
Yeah.
So it's just a very comfortable mother-son relationship that doesn't need any extra fuel to fire something that doesn't need to be fired.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I like what you say there, that's a mother-son relationship because that's what we're so fortunate enough to have, is that my relationship with your mother is like mother and daughter, and your relationship with my mother is like mother and son.
Yeah.
And I think like my mother's very appreciative of that because, I mean, she's got my sister and I, so she's got no sense.
Yeah.
And even though basically we always say my sister is her son, her husband, everything, like, you know, she has played all roles that's ever needed
Yes.
for my mother and myself. But actually having like a son now is a big thing for her.
Yeah. And I'm glad to be able to give it to her. And, you know, when it comes down to both our moms and they're much older and they actually need us to take care of them, both of us will be okay with taking care of whichever mother wants to come and live with us, stay with us. We'll take care of them. If we have to change diapers, we'll change diapers. It's fine.
Will you change diapers? Is that what you're saying? Because now this is recorded and I'm going to make your mother hear it.
You can change diapers. As agreed, I'll do everything that comes out the top end.
And I will do everything that comes out the bottom.
Yeah.
Even for the mothers.
Even for the mothers.
Yeah, I actually feel that, you know, normally when you're younger and you're like, oh, parents are so clingy and just like give me space and stuff. Now that we're old, it's like, no, we don't need the space.
We don't need the space. We'd rather.
Yeah.
It's actually.
In our space, we like it.
It's actually one of the things when I think about both our mothers, and I'm like, you know, it's sad that they are so strong and independent in a way that there's probably never going to come a time where they're going to be like, can we come live with you and take care of us and stuff? Because they're just going to want to do their own thing and live their own life. And they don't want to put us in that situation, even though we want to be put in that situation.
Yeah. Like, we'll gladly take it.
Yeah.
Like, cool, just be in our space. Make yourself at home. Do what you want to do.
I think if they had tell us, okay, from next year, we want to come live with you guys. Like,
cool. Great.
cool. We'll start looking for deco and beds and furniture and whatever we need to make it happen. We'll start now already.
And we'll make you feel as comfortable as we possibly can. And then we'll start planning a whole lot of things. And we'll just be like, guys, this is not what we, you know, this is like overkill. They probably will be the ones to turn around and be like, you guys are being a bit clingy now. We need some space.
Exactly. Yeah.
I also see it kind of happening that way. I think both our moms, though, are also busybodies and in different ways.
Very different ways.
Like, your mother cannot sit still in the house. Like, she will go to the shop every single day and be happy.
Yeah, that was your fight that you had with her in COVID.
Yeah. Just sit at home. You don't have to go to the shop every day. Sit.
Yeah, I remember when you were ordering Checkers 60 and then she would still go buy bread. But why?
Exactly. Why? And just making me stress and panic for nothing. And my mother is very busy in the sense that she struggles to like sit down and just like maybe watch a movie and stuff. She needs to like rearrange something or clean something or cook something or, you know, like she's always doing like multiple things at the same time. And when you look back at it, it's maybe not things that are important that really need to happen right then and there, but she needs to do everything at once.
Yeah, I can see that because when your mom is sitting and we're watching TV or whatever, then she has to check her phone. She has to be messaging someone.
Or she's writing down notes of things that she's thinking about on the side, like something else is happening in that brain.
Yeah. And then she'll just blurt out something that she's thinking about, like, oh, I need to do this way. And we're like, but what does that have to do with what we're watching and what we're doing?
Or something. Yeah, it's like a mind is in 10,000 different places all the time.
Yeah.
And you just need to try your very best to realize what she's picking on at that point. So yeah, there's definitely two busybodies, but in very different senses. Like when your mom came here, she didn't want to sit in the house. And like where we are now it's a small town. There's not a lot to do. But even if she walked a different route or walked into the same shop to walk down a different aisle or something, that was what she needed to do.
Yeah, I think the best highlights of her day sometimes were just taking Ban and Bagel to pee and poo.
Yeah.
Because it was just getting out of the house.
She doesn't like to sit in the house, so she has itchy feet.
I think the only time my mom likes to sit in the house is when all the siblings are in the house and everyone is visiting and stuff, then she'd happily be in the house.
Yeah, everybody's together, then she'll stay.
Yeah.
Stay put. But even then somebody had to say, oh, I want to go and get something from the shop. She'll say, can I come with you?
Exactly.
I want to go get it.
Yeah, let's take a drive and go get ice cream.
Yeah, she'll love that.
Yeah.
Busybodies.
So my mom wasn't really traditional in terms of like Indianizing us growing up. Like, what is there typical Indian stuff that moms do and what did your mom do?
My mother always turned salt for us. That was a big thing, was to turn salt. She didn't really have a thing about us wearing dot and stuff. Not that I can remember. I think I started wearing dot on my own. Surprisingly, when I started calling my sister Akka, that was of my doing because I realized that's what she was supposed to be called. And then, like, when she bought her first flat and we moved in, she did, like, the big prayer in the house. That was a thing. We always celebrated Diwali. That was a thing, but, like, you know, making sure we had the trika and all bath in the morning, and that her tradition was, like, we wear something new.
Yeah.
For Diwali. She made sure, like, you know, lamp was, like, lit and stuff. That was obviously until she converted. But even then, we always, like, had the choice to do those things. Like, religiously, she would make sure that we knew what we were doing, or that we would do the things that was required at that time. If we needed to go anywhere or do anything. Culturally, yeah, I think it was a lot of, like, turning salt and all, sprinkling bad eyes and, you know, those kind of things.
Okay.
She would also have, like, all her remedies, and she still does, all her home remedies for, like, if you got sick, this is it, and have this, and I'll make this for you, and, you know, like, making raso and stuff like that.
Okay.
Those were constants. She was also, I think, as the typical Indian auntie, she would be the one to do all the cooking.
Yeah.
For functions and stuff. So if we ever got invited anywhere, or if anybody was ever doing anything, she would be the one making the big pot of biryani and then the big pot of this and, like, all the rotis and stuff. There was never a thing of buying those things. It was always she would make from scratch. We would spend a lot of time folding samosas for her. So, she, you know, she would fold, and then we would paste.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a norm.
Okay.
I mean, those are all the things I can really, like, think of at the top of my head. I'm pretty sure there was more. Oh, and burning samrani in the house, that was a norm throughout. Like, we always, it was often that samrani was burnt in the house.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't have any of the Indian stuff. And even when we did, I never saw it as being driven by my mom. It was always my granny or another auntie or whatever. But I think that's because my mom wanted us to adapt to our environment, and it was definitely not a Indian environment. So there's no point in forcing all of that down us, and then we isolate ourselves from the community that we're actually in.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, the other thing is, like, my mother enjoyed watching, like, Bollywood movies.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of that, and we listened to a lot of Hindi music growing up. That was a norm. Like, Lotus FM was a norm to be on in the house when the TV wasn't on. And, like, Eastern Mosaic was something that we watched religiously on a Sunday. Yeah, I think it was just, like, what I would see as, like, in a typical kind of house. That's what we had. Like, in the car, it was Indian music, it was Lotus. She knew the songs. We would go sometimes to the movies. When she did go, it was, like, to watch a Hindi movie or something. She was very open to, like, all of those things. And then that's how I kind of, like, learned the Bollywood dances, and then I would do it, and that would be a thing. Like, I would learn the dance, and then I'd, like, dance it for her and stuff, and then that was exciting.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I think she was very proud when in grade 1 I did the dance, and that's what the school used for the grade 1 concert. So I taught the whole grade 1 level the dance, and then I moved schools. I actually wasn't even there for the concert.
Nice.
She was very proud.
Did you at least get a video?
I can't remember. I don't think so. But I think the teacher did phone her and say it went very well.
The days before smartphones, huh?
Yeah, it was a tough time, man. Tough time back then.
Yeah. Shows are old.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not old. You're old.
I can accept that.
Not yet for me.
So speaking about old, like, when you think about how different your relationship was with your mom as young versus old, like, what's the scale of that?
Massive, but also not. Like, I don't think we were ever at a point where things were either always, like, we were really good or, like, we were really bad. I think it was always, like, an up and down thing. Like, because we always clashed on something or the other. I think the relationship from when we were younger was obviously not as great as what it is now. I think that now there's obviously a lot more maturity, and there's a lot more understanding, and there's a lot more compromise in that. But I think younger is probably far more different than what the relationship is now. And I say the older that it gets, I see that relationship being better.
Yeah, I can 100% agree, because I think as we get older, we can kind of start seeing things from our mother's perspective and what they had to do for us, especially the situations that they were in as single parents. You kind of have more respect for that, and then you can let go of a lot of things that you couldn't as a younger. Like, why can't I play PlayStation during the week? And then you think back to it and be like, okay, but if I was doing that, would I be in the situation now where I am across the world in a good job?
Yeah.
But you don't see it as a young person. And now that you're older, you can see, okay, everything that she did for me was for good.
Yeah. And I think, also there's always going to be this thing where one generation's not going to understand the next generation, from a sense of like the older generation's always going to be, but like learn from my mistakes, like listen to what I'm telling you. And the younger generation's always going to be like, well, I don't see it from that perspective, because you obviously don't have that experience and you don't know any better in some instances, and you just want to do things for yourself. But I do look back at like some things and I'm like, geez, that was stupid. If only I listened.
If you only listened. So I wanted to speak on that as well. Like, nowadays, there's so many books and videos and guidance on how to be a parent and what you should be doing and do this, don't do that. And both our parents didn't have any of that kind of, there wasn't any guidance, any information. I mean, there's still barely any information on Indian like ways of like how parenting and Indian bodies and all of that stuff. But now from my side, if you take was the guidance and stuff, my mom would never fit that perfect parent box in the books. But still, for me, she was the perfect mom.
Yeah, I mean, same on my side. I don't think that there should be a box for them, essentially. I also don't think like, my mother would fit that checklist or whatever is written out to be. But at the same time, I don't think that I lacked anything.
Yeah, I agree. So I think, for parents going forward, they shouldn't be too stressed as I'm not the mother that the books are saying, I need to do this and that and avoid this and don't let them do that. And
yeah,
it's situational. Everyone makes the best of their situation and you adapt with the child like our mothers did with us.
Yeah, and I think, the other thing is that it's hard to not compare yourself to another mother or whatever. But I think I'm glad that our parents didn't really do that as much, and they really just stuck to, well, these are our circumstances, this is our condition, and this is what I can do. And if I can't do this, this is why I can't do that, but also where can I make up for it? That's really kind of how I feel they treated their situations. And it worked out for the best. But there is no such thing as a perfect parent. And I think, even when I look at us being parents, when we're going to be parents, we're probably going to be like, oh, maybe we're doing something wrong or maybe we're doing this. And I think that's the negative that comes with this influx of information.
Yeah.
It's very hard to figure out what relates to you, what you can do, what you can't do. And it's hard because it's a lot of pressure. It's not like, okay, I can try this, and if it doesn't work, I'll just like change it up, because it's not like a trial and error type of thing, because whatever you do is gonna lay back on the child itself.
Yeah, it's one thing I can remember my mom saying to a lot of people, and I think it's probably the way that I will be a parent as well. And she used to say, it's my child, I will bring them up the way I see fit, and it's my consequences to deal with.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, if you're asking for advice and you want to know more, of course, that's fine. But I don't think you're obligated to do what everybody else is telling you to do.
Yeah.
You need to do what you're comfortable with. And I think our parents really did that with us.
Yeah. Well, mothers definitely.
Well, obviously. By parents, I mean mothers, because our mothers were mothers and fathers.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That is our moms.
And we miss them lots. And, we obviously wish we could be there spending this day with them and the other mother figures in our lives. But we hope to just see them soon. And we trust that they will be having a great day and celebrating with the rest of their loved ones.
Yeah. And we wish everyone a happy Mother's Day again. Hope it was a good celebration. Hope everyone's bellies are nice and full, or the sugar high has got you.
and that you didn't have to do any of the work for it.
Except get ready,
Yes.
pamper blow out their hair and all the good stuff.
Yes, all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, until our next episode, Shup, sweet and aware. Lots of love.